Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. You're here on the Radio Works platform with your host, Sabrina and Salmi. Today I'm expecting a guest, Udo, who's actually amazing on so many levels, and we're having some technical difficulties, so I thought I'll just log in and have a chat with you. Here at the Radio Works team, we've got a host of things. We're kind of going through some transitional stages at the moment, which is really amazing and very exciting. So, for those of you who have attended some of our red carpet events, they'll be coming back again on the 6th of September. So I highly recommend that you attend. The Make the News team are really excited about the new improved format as we're going to be launching with Mindfulness Matters with a special keynote speaker, Danielle Pico. So I really hope I've done some justification to the pronunciation of me. So head over to the Radio Works platform website to keep an eye on upcoming events. And in October, we'll be having our Dreaming Big Together. The date, so just keep an eye open for that because the date will be confirmed closer to there. We've got some really exciting things in store for you, which is going to be absolutely amazing. I can see that my guest has just joined in, so I'm just going to welcome Udo onto the show. Hi, Udo. Thank you very much for persevering.
I can't believe I actually figured it out to be able to get in.
You should be very proud of yourself. Absolutely proud of yourself.
I'm amazed.
Well done. So you put on the spot, right?
Yeah. I'm sweating a little bit.
You deserve it. Udo, I've just been speaking to the listeners about our up and coming events. I would really appreciate if you can, just tell the listeners a bit about you and Udo's Choice. I myself am a big fan, as you know. I've been singing your praises because I found out about you from a friend, Dawn Gibbons, and Dawn Cox now, sorry. But at the time, I had radiation poisoning. Didn't know you can actually get that from home. I was in my home pregnant, couldn't move, lifeless. Tell us who you are, tell the listeners who you are and about Udo's Choice.
Well, how much time do we have?
We've got 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I got poisoned by pesticides and I had background in biological sciences and biochemistry and genetics. The doctors couldn't help me. So I said, okay, my health is my responsibility. That was a new one for me. And so because I had the background, I started looking around, what can I do? And I figured it's got to be water, air, sunlight, or food that I need to change for my body to rebuild itself. Every year, 98% of the molecules in your body are removed and replaced. So your body is a major construction site, 24/7, 365. And because if you set standards, higher standards, then within a year, you can rebuild your body, 98% of your body, to a higher standard. That's why healing is possible. So I started paying attention to that, and I realized from reading the research that fats, or oils particularly, are the single most sensitive nutrients in our diet. And they should get the most care, but we give them the least. So first, we damage them by the way they're processed to make oils. Treated with Drano, with window washing acid, then they're fried before they even go in the bottle. Then when we use them, we throw them in the frying pan and mess them up that way. And more health problems are associated with damaged oils than any other part of nutrition. So I figured if we made them with health in mind and gave them the care that they need, then they should give us a lot of benefits. That's how I got into that and basically came out with flaxseed oil in 1986, and then Udo's oil, a blend that is better balanced than flax, began in 1994.
Wow. I'm actually astonished by what you just shared. Like, to start off with that's a big eye-opener for me. I wasn't aware of the significance of how we can rebuild our body in that time. Thank you. We've got Dari Nani has just commented here. Great to have you on the show, Udo. Welcome to Radio Works World. Thank you very much, Dari. That's on the screen there. You can see that. I think it's actually fascinating, and I want listeners to understand and really tap into the importance. Your health is your wealth, and I love the fact that you said you own the responsibility. So it wasn't a case of fix me, because sometimes we get into the panic state, like, where can I go? Who's going to fix me?
Well, I was happy enough to have somebody fix me, just nobody could.
So you did it yourself. Like, wow, what? Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely. Since then, what you've gone on to create, like you've got such a vast product range, and I've had experience with two, the oils and the Beyond Greens. I think for the benefit of the listeners, what have been some of the major setbacks? So although you went on this journey, was it as easy as like you just started taking this? What are some of the challenges that the body can kind of go through before it starts to kick in and start healing itself? Or was it quite a smooth process?
Well, I made quite a few changes. I did some sweating, and sweating is actually very good for detox, especially of oil-soluble toxins. And the pesticides that I sprayed are oil-soluble. So I did that, and I started taking antioxidants, and I started paying more attention to eating whole foods, and I started eating more plant-based foods. So I did a number of things that were helpful. I can't say, other than at the beginning, I had cramps, nausea, dizziness, and no energy. I was 38 years old. If I walked around a city block, I had to sit down and rest. I was like an 80-year-old in terms of my energy level. That was the symptom that lasted the longest. But I can't say there were too many setbacks. I didn't have like healing crises or things got worse before they got better. They literally, when I started doing the right thing and paying attention to it, they just started getting better. Sometimes they get worse before they get better. It was not true in my case.
I'm glad that was a smooth journey for you. I think for the purpose of the listeners, how serious is this, Udo? What can you say to people? Do we wait for those warning signs, or do we need to just perhaps have it ingrained, to start? Because this show's called Dream Big, and it's for families. We hold a red carpet event that's coming back in in October. But the whole idea is that how can we install good values in our children at a young age so they don't have to kind of get to our age and then work backwards, so to speak?
Right. Well, that's a bigger question. The reason why people know a lot more about health than they put into practice. The question is why is that? And the conclusion I came to is if you're not in love with your life, and how do you get in love with your life? You need to be in touch with your heart. You need to do some kind of a practice that brings your awareness inside so that you discover your own magnificence. When you feel really good about being alive, you'll do whatever it takes to be able to stick around as long as you can because you're enjoying the journey. When you're depressed or you feel like crap, then why would you bother? And so it really begins not with oils and not with food and not with exercise. It begins with experiencing our life to be as beautiful as it is. And in order to do that, we have to get closer to it. And whatever practice gets you closer to being fully present in your life, because you only have it for a while. You're only in a human body for a while, 60, 70, 80, 100 years. If the purpose of life is not to be fully present, to fully enjoy, all it is to be human, then I don't know what the purpose would be. That would be number one purpose. Number two purpose was have your children, make sure that they got their diapers changed, and you deal with their education, and you deal with all of that, and make sure your environment is okay. So all of those come secondary, and they're relatively easy when I'm in love with being here. When I'm in love with being here in human form, able to do so much, but it's more about the being than the doing. We do way too much, and we be much too less. So I wrote a book called The Book on Total Sexy Health, The 8 Key Steps Designed by Nature. It's just come out. It's on Amazon. And I go through the 8 parts of nature and human nature that play a role in health, because health affects everything. Yes. Health is affected by everything. Absolutely. How you feel, how you think, who you're with, what your natural system is like, the big picture about living and dying, what you're aware of, how you feel inside. So, and whether you're inspired and creative about something, whether you're enjoying living. So you need to give all of them their due if you want to be whole and healthy. And when you do that, you will actually be fully present in all of your being. Each part needs some attention. When you're out of line with it, the part it confers to sexy leaves the building, And when you get back in line, it comes back. And literally, people want to know, they want to be sexy. They don't know how to be sexy. Health is the foundation of sexy, and health has these 8 components. So I'm using sex to sell people on themselves. Yes. It's about time somebody did that, because usually everybody uses sex to sell you on stupid stuff. So I decided using sexy to sell you on yourself is the best way to use it, because by nature, every one of us is sexy in our nature.
Wow, that's a real big eye opener, and the severity of getting back in alignment, what feels good and what we're focusing on, making health sexy. That's such a key point. What happened? What happened to us as a society when we stopped seeing our health as being sexy?
Well, we come into the world completely aligned to all of our being. That's why babies are so attractive, right? And they have like maybe ugly, pudgy noses, or maybe like really funny looking heads, but unbelievably beautiful to be around because they're fully present in all of it. Then we start to talk ourselves out of it. First, our parents talk us out of it. You're not a child of God. You're just like a brat and blah, 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 this and blah, blah. So the parents talk us out of it, and then we talk ourselves out of it. We are far more magnificent than we have ever let on or have ever been told. And it's always somebody else is always better than you are. No, you are the best you that is possible to be, and you're unique, and you have everything, and you have more than everything, just within your own nature. And then what happens when we come into the world? Our awareness goes out to the world, because we have to learn to find our way around it, right? That's part of the growing up process. And in that process, we get disconnected from ourselves. And now we become I'm really good at molecules, but really bad at technology, right? And I really know how to sell real estate, but I don't know anything about who I am, right? And then I become a doer instead of someone who's lit up from within, because the light is already inside of us. See, the light's already inside a human being. But have you ever seen that light inside of you, right? And I'm not picking on you. I'm saying 8 billion people. What if they all lived their lives lit up from within? 8 billion people would feel so taken care of, they wouldn't steal each other's stuff. So then they could live in harmony. And if we feel so taken care of that we can live in harmony with other people, then it's so easy to make sure that everybody's basic needs are met. It's so easy. But if we don't feel taken care of, we will do whatever it takes to try and get it taken care of. And when we're doing that on the outside, we basically just stealing stuff to try and make ourselves feel better. We never get to that core that we need to get to. So we have to start from within. When that's taken care of, literally we can transform the world into the kind of place it was intended to be, and the kind of people that it is possible for us to be living in that world.
Wow. Do you know what? That feels so right. And it's when someone shares a message from their heart, and I have to thank you for sharing that. There's a message on here saying, great message, Udo, so thank you for that. When someone speaks from their heart. Sorry?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, certainly, by all means.
So sometimes I ask myself, why is it that people who have a lot don't necessarily share it, hang on to it? Why do they do that? And I figured it out. It's because just because you have a lot of stuff doesn't mean you're content, because your contentment comes from your connection to your core, to your life, to yourself. So you have a lot of stuff, but you're still discontent, because all the stuff is outside and your discontent is inside. And so we hang on to stuff we don't even need, because we fear that if we let it go, we would be even more discontent. And the moment we get that right and it's taken care of, then it's like, okay, nobody has to sacrifice anything here. I've eaten, you haven't eaten, I got food, you don't have food. Why wouldn't I give you the food that I don't need when you need it? So it's secondary to that. But it will not happen until a human being feels taken care of they are not free to help because they're always trying to help themselves because they don't feel, they feel like there's something missing. And so it's our driving force. That's our driving force.
Wow. So in essence, this ease is really when we are out of sync, is when ease and flow of ourselves.
Yeah, it's like discontent. Exactly. Yeah, yes. because when we feel taken care of, we feel easy.
Wow. There's something about all those messages that you've shared that's really really spoken such truth to me, and I really hope the listeners have really connected with that self. It's about us falling in love with our health and getting back to the place of feeling sexy with our core and stop holding. I think the danger is now, and I don't know if you agree, we're becoming the where you touch a button, it turns up. Kind of superficial instant gratification, which serves as a superficial void, whereas we're not allowing ourselves to go deeper. We're not allowing ourselves to connect, and we're not allowing ourselves to go, actually, what's the core of what's going on? Would you agree?
No, I don't. I don't. I'll tell you why. Because a distraction is a distraction. You know, there are monks who sit in monasteries who are trying to go on the inner journey. And they look out the window and they're distracted by the leaves. Or a woman goes by and they're distracted. They're living in their ashram or whatever, the monastery. So if your intent is not to go in, or you don't have a method by which you can bring your awareness in, then you'll always be distracted. And we have different distractions now than we had before. But distraction is distraction because you're either on or you're off, right? In terms of this, you're either on or you're off. But here's what the coolest thing is about it. There is already something in you that is calling you to come home. And it's called heartache. Heartache or blues or loneliness or longing or restlessness or emptiness. You know what I'm talking about. You know, somebody dumps you, your heart aches. You know, your grandma dies, and you were really close to her, you feel sore, you feel sad. And you always feel it in the middle of your chest. That's really interesting because those are our distractions. We put our love into those distractions because we lost our love for ourselves. And then when one of our distractions disappears, then we go back to that feeling of loss. But the feeling of loss originated in the feeling of loss of our connection to ourselves. Because if I'm connected to myself and my grandma dies, I will remember her with love and with beauty and with kindness. And yeah, I'll be sad because I'll miss her. That's understandable because that's natural. But I won't be completely shattered because we live in a world where we know that everyone who lives will die. And those people who are a lot older than us are likely to die before we do. So we already know that.
Yes.
But why are we so attached is because we're so disconnected from ourselves. So that ache in the heart is and we don't like that feeling, right? And we distract ourselves from it. But that is our greatest gift that we've been given other than being alive, because it nags us and nags us and nags us to come home. It's the heart calling for our awareness to come back home to life inside. And we can put that off till we die because then we will come home. Or we can live that way and really enjoy the world and ourselves to the nth degree.
Wow. I wish we had one of you in every town, to be honest with you, listening to that lucky for us, we have me and Google and you. Yes,
and
absolutely.
So you and I can talk to 8 billion people because it's wired for that message.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely beautiful. So, that's really, it's made me think about reflecting on where am I at. And I hope you listeners, I hope you're reflecting and understanding the importance of us actually, what is the pain? It's actually all happening inside of us. We have to deal with our attachment issues. So I'm very happy that you quite rightly said that you disagree with what I said, because that's more about distractions and how can we be more.
Well, it's worth thinking about that.
Yeah, I love that. Just about honing in and owning that responsibility of our own self-discipline, and somewhat of me thinking this is a life skill. It really should be incorporated. You know, I'm not sure how that can be integrated into education, but at least at a community, family level, in essence, that everybody needs to know this at this level. You're giving me a tool that I've not actually had in my life before. Thank you.
Yeah, how it can be incorporated? Well, first, we each have to incorporate it in ourselves. Once we've done that, we will change the systems we build. We will change the educational system. If somebody in the UK wants to hire me to make that part of the curriculum in schools and universities and all the courses, I would be tickled pink to do it.
That brings me on to my next question about your vision. I'm actually just still listening and would like to get in touch with Udo on his website. And my next question was going to be, you know, what is your vision for the world? What is it you would like to implement? And you obviously touched on that.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, 8 billion people could live their lives lit up from within because the light is already there. It's a matter of looking into it instead of looking away from it. Once we do that, we will feel so taken care of by life that we will realize we have what we need and we don't have to steal other people's stuff to feel better. When that's done, we can live in harmony together, because when people steal from each other, that's really hard on harmony, right? Mm-hmm. And once we feel so taken care of that we don't steal and that we live in harmony, then literally all the basic needs of everyone on the planet can be easily met because we have the means to do that. And that's what I'm going to be talking about for the next 30 years. You know, I was born in a war. So it's not pesticide poisoning, but I was born in the Second World War. And I just remember the anxiety and the terror of it and the fear. And until I was 45, when there was tension in a room, I would shake. Wow. And I became a joker. I'm very good with humor to break tension. And it was my survival skill. But when I was 6 years old, I was living in Europe, and I listened to adults arguing about stuff that I thought was really trivial. And the thought came to me, said, there must be a way that people can live together in harmony, and I'm going to find out how. And I didn't know how complicated it would be. So that's been my drive, really. This was like the oil is a subset of it. But that's been my drive. I went into science because I wanted to understand how things work. Because in the chaotic social system I was in, I couldn't depend on much. So I wanted to know, what can I depend on? So science to find out how things work. Then I got into biology to find out how creatures work. Then I got into psychology to figure out how thinking works. And then I got into self-knowledge, because actually the most important thing each one of us needs to know is how we work. And so that's basically my background that I bring to it. And literally, it's not difficult for everybody to live in harmony together. But it requires us to do our homework. And the homework is our inner work to become content in our own life. And content independent of all the crazy stuff going on around us, and independent of all the crazy ideas we have that came from God knows where, right? Because there is something in us that is not affected. Our awareness and the life energy is not affected by anything. Even if your body is completely wrecked, your mind is completely disorganized, your social system is completely dysfunctional, and your environment is a disaster area. The energy that keeps you alive and the awareness behind that energy out of which everything comes, those are not affected in the least by any of those. When we can get in touch with those, we can literally rewrite our lives and deal with the dysfunction and fix it, and deal with the environment and not wreck it further, and change our thinking. I've rewritten my life. I've got 9,000 pages. I've literally rewritten my life from life's perspective, because I came in with war's perspective. And the two stories are very different. One is hateful and destructive, and the other one is unconditionally loving and amazingly beautiful. And so I literally was born in hell and live in heaven. But it took a long time to get there.
But I'm thankful that you did get
Yeah.
there. I'm thankful because we've got some messages here. Great message. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
Welcome home. We've got another messages, by the way. An amazing message. Turn your weakness into strength. Udo, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't say that entirely. I would say find your strength, because it's kind of like find your light, because there's no darkness in light. You don't need to turn the darkness into light. You need to find the light that already exists, and that will just wash out the darkness. So the strength that you have becomes your radiance instead of your fear and your, because our state of being is what we bring to expression. I have a saying that peace, people talk about peace sometimes. This is my experience. Peace is already everywhere. Everywhere. And you can talk about all the countries where there's wars. And how can you say that? Peace is already everywhere, but only peace knows that. So if you can't see peace everywhere, then it's not peace in you looking, something else in you looking. A different state of being is doing the looking. But on the battlefield, the peace is everywhere, inside the soldiers, inside the people who are fighting, but they're not focusing on the peace. They're focusing on an idea. One side says, I'm going to kill you, and the other side says, I'm going to kill you, and then they play out that again, that's a state of being, right? They play out that state of being, even though there is peace inside of both of them. And if both of them knew the peace inside of them, they'd probably be breaking bread together. Wow.
That is such a beautiful message, and I love that. It kind of beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So what are we actually...
Yeah, it's like that. And if I'm angry, that's my state of being, I'm going to see enemies. If I'm fearful, that's my state of being, I'm going to see danger. If I'm in peace, and it's real, not just as a concept, but as an experience of the depth of my being, where that peace is, then literally I see that peace everywhere. The whole universe unfolds in peace. A flower grows in peace. The rain falls in peace. My life evolves in peace. Everything is taking place in an infinite peace that is in us and through us, between us, above us, below us, everywhere. Yes. And our access to it is in the core of our being, and from the core of our being, that peace goes out to infinity. And we are a point in that peace, as is everything else, is a point of peace, in an infinite peace that is everywhere. But our access is not external, our access to it is internal. You want real peace, you got to go inside.
Go inside. I love that, and I think we're actually getting to the end of the show now. But I think, Udo, if someone's sitting at home listening to this, what perhaps are some basic ways or exercises that you would suggest? Not exercises, like techniques, I guess, that they could utilize from today to kind of.
Yeah. Well, if you're new to it, I would say get the book on total sexy health. Read it, because it goes through all parts, and you can get it. It's an overview book. Okay, it's pretty dense. There's lots of information and lots of things to think about. When it comes to getting to the core of the whole issue, the one thing that makes everything work better, to go to that core place inside of you. You got to be willing to take some time, create a safe place where you can sit down, turn off all your gadgets, make it dark, close your eyes, sit down, be quiet, shut up, just breathe, and see how long you can sit still, how deeply you can be still, and just practice doing that, because you are not going to discover the beauty of your being if you can't sit still to look. And you can listen, literally, you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it, you can even taste it. Your own being. In other words, you're turning senses inward. And the quieter you get and the better you get at it, and there's nothing to think about, only to observe, only to discover. Your thinking actually distracts you from it. That's the first distraction. So if you just do that and listen inward and look inward, and it takes time to figure out how to do that because we're so not used to it. We're so good at bringing our awareness out, and we never practice bringing our awareness inside. So we're not really good at it. So it's going to take some time. And then usually what people say, well, I used to meditate, but I found it boring. Okay, so fall in love with boredom. Because when you get really bored inside, you're on the right track because you're in the no man's land between your addiction to excitement and the inner peace that is, that's the other world. And also when you find it boring, then notice how calm it is in that boredom.
Thank you.
And fall in love with it, because that's, for most people, that's the biggest block. Oh yeah, I sat down, there's nothing happening, and I don't know what I expected to see some light, or I don't know what to expect, right? And somehow it was like, oh no, I got to do something. Oh, it's, there got to be lots of moving parts. What if there are no moving parts? In the core of your being, there are no moving parts.
Thank you so much, Udo. I think, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm honoured. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on the show. Listeners, I think all of those messages that Udo has shared, put them into practice. How can you become yourself? I think that's so awesome. No distractions, no labels, nothing to attach to, just being quiet with yourself and embrace the discomfort. Because initially I'm guessing there'll be quite a lot of discomfort. I did some mirror work and I saw that, you're just looking at yourself, but once you get comfortable with being there, it really is invigorating. So, thank you very much from myself and the Radio Works family. Listeners, that tune into the shows that you visit the website. Make sure you keep in touch with your up and coming events. The Make the News platform will be back on the 6th. Udo, do you ever venture around the world? Do you come to the UK at any point?
I've been to the UK a number of times. I'm not traveling so much now, but pretty soon I'll start with this new thing that I'm doing.
Okay, because on the 2nd of October, we've got an awards, Make the News, Radio Works Make the News awards night. So I'll tag some details of that at the bottom. But I'll actually nominate you as well. There are some, I think what you're doing in the world and what you're sharing is absolutely miraculous. So it'd be lovely to see you up on stage, perhaps, if that's possible.
And a huge pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. You take care. Thank you very much for being on Radio Works platform. You were here with your host, Sabrina Ben Salmi, on the Dream Big Show. Thank you.